Hi everybody and hello to our audiences. I'm Dhwani Shah, workplace strategist and change management expert working with Zyeta. I cannot be happier about launching something that we've only been thinking of doing for a long time now. Podcasts. Podcasts that speak and cover everything about workplace. Just to kick things off, we have a month-long series where we're covering podcasts on the wholesome experience of workplace strategy itself, beginning from the times that we have been left in, and how the necessity for analyzing your people, your process, and your spatial requirements has become an hour of the need. To this, I would like to welcome my three main speakers today. Smita Nayak from Pune Zyeta office, Shilpa Revankar, founder Zyeta, and Nupur, who is a workplace strategist with us in our team. This podcast is fairly Zyeta powered, and we really want all of our listeners to know about the capabilities that we have, but more than that, about what we are brewing up within our design studio on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to start with Shilpa. Shilpa is, I think, fairly well known in the industry, and everybody knows she is our design backbone and artistry backbone. She comes with a bright passion and vision for design, and the entire studio loves following in her footsteps. Smita is the mastermind behind both business, client management, and design operational perspectives. And she has the kind of relationship skills that will leave everybody in awe. Nupur, our young, bubbly, energetic workplace strategist who brings so much research, so much content to our team that her vision for strategy helps us transform people, lifestyles, and club meaningful design into everything that we do. So welcome all you ladies, and thank you for being part of this series over here, and most importantly helping us kickstart it.
Thank you so much for having us here, Dhwani.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so looking forward for being a part of this podcast.
Thanks, guys. So quickly going back to what we're talking about today, the podcast is going to speak about design itself, and more than design, about resilience within design, about the need for scenario planning, about the need for thinking about the future. Everything has changed at a highly rapid pace over the last 2 years, and we've seen how every organization, every rule, every process have been challenged, and there have been difficulties in trying to actualize your goals. What has happened now would have been considered unthinkable of just 2 years back, but we've been brought down to our knees, and we've been told that there are so many different ways to do the same things we've refused to do in different ways over the past 20-30 odd years. With the growth of startup culture, the era that we now call Great Resignation, and the pandemic fueled energy that has engulfed all of the youth of the corporate culture, I'd really love to bring on Shilpa and speak a little bit about how to stay relevant in times that are changing so rapidly and so frequently.
Hey Dhwani, I'm really excited to be a part of this and sharing the stage with you three inspiring ladies. And it's an amazing introduction that you've given about me. To talk about your question, 21st century, Dhwani, is actually kind of refined several aspects of our workspace industry. The exponential technological growth and the disruption has completely changed business landscape. For us to be relevant at this point of time, out-inventing ourselves, this is on the top level, right? Like really high level, out-inventing ourselves with tech and design. We also call ourselves as a tech and design company. So every time a new feature comes in, we're giving that to our clients so that they are smoothing their processes by enabling the features of tech through design or through operations. And second thing is keeping the right pace with our clients and staying in tune with their needs, and always solving their challenges and problems, and for us, creating a solution to their problems is something which we are driven from our culture. So that's something which keeps us relevant at today's day and time.
Yes, absolutely, Shilpa. It's definitely important to envisage what tomorrow will bring forth, and equally important to be prepared to deal with uncertainties, right? So the ability to be able to see different possibilities in order to make better decisions now becomes a tool to stay relevant in future, isn't it? And it would start with probably creating scenarios for business to make assumption about possible, probable, and even preferable futures, and how business environment will change as a result of these occurrences. Two simple steps for the same would probably be to identify specific risk, or I would say alternate realities, estimate their effects on the three aspects of work, very important: the space, the people, and the process or the policies. For instance, the way AI and robotics are advancing and evolving, there's an excitement for all the possibilities that it can unfold. And of course, there's also constant apprehension too on how it could disrupt. And, what could the possible future be in such case? I would say overwhelming loss of jobs, right? And this possible future here definitely does not help us stay relevant. Now let's look at what the probable future would look like. That could be, say, new employment opportunities that would require reskilling, and also for the businesses looking at new strategies on how to utilize automated innovations, right? That sounds pretty much exciting. But I would say scenario 3 would be what I call the preferable future that we would want to say, or we would want to write. Well, with AI here, Mars is probably not the limit, right? So the preferable future would then be humans and AI working together. And what we would see then definitely is much greater efficiency for businesses. So remember, future is being written as we speak, and staying relevant is extremely important for all of us.
Okay, so Smita, what I'm hearing is that yes, while technology for whatsoever reasons is reinventing itself, right? We will have to look at the workforce of the workplace in very different lens. Even today, this is me personally. I know when you speak about the entire loss of jobs scenario and the fears that have been penetrating the market for a long time. It's just that instead of seeing jobs reduce, we're seeing jobs multiply. But the nature of jobs required, a lot of your tools provide you with the ability to run organizations, to run your admin processes, to simplify your operations. Even something as simple as facility management in our industry is being handled by apps and machines. But those apps and machines right now require humans to sit behind the computer and code for it, right? So I do agree with you when you say that the possibilities are endless, but we're going to look to the future, and we're going to have to adapt company to company, business to business, how we will require our workforce to change, and what are the possible changes that may happen to enable our workforce to redefine itself every couple of years. Yeah, but that's me, and I sort of agree with you over there. I believe Nupur had something to say about the same, and she was a little enthusiastic about speaking about the future along the same lines. Am I wrong, Nupur?
Yeah, definitely, Dhwani. I think I've always been very curious about human-centered design research, and in my experience during the entire journey, the thing I learned was to look ahead. You might not always need to look forward. Sometimes, in fact, you need to look backwards or take a pause and just realize the problems which actually exist. So I would say, for example, if you see, for years people have been working in a very static work environment where there are very fixed kind of setups. You have to sit the entire day on a desk, which is very uncomfortable and did not offer any choice and autonomy. Much later in 1990s, somebody realized that this problem exists and made a motorized height adjustable desk. You see, it's not that the problem was not there, but it was not having realization that the problem exists. So I would say, you see, it's not just about seeing the unseen, but it's also about thinking about the things that nobody yet thought, about the things we have seen.
Good. So we have two great, I think, short summary for us over here, right? One is saying look to the future. The second is saying adapt when you're seeing the changes around you. And the third is saying take a break, pause for a moment and understand what's already going wrong. Identify your pain points. And I think this is a great approach to just think about how to prepare for more future proofing as the it word of the current times. Fantastic. Tell me that now that we've heard all this, what would be the key considerations or the key requirements of thinking about design from the perspective of future proofing? Because I'm not very fond of the word proofing, but at least being future ready in some way.
Very interesting question, Remy. Designing of spaces to make them more future ready instead of just resilient requires incorporating 4 considerations. First one being scalability. From a perspective of designing the operation that can expand or contrast based on the given scenario. Second one, adaptable inclusion. That is, spaces and technology that can be seamlessly integrated to make one space adaptable to a point where it can be assigned for multiple functions. Third point is ability to create timely reinvention. Is constantly forgotten that spaces and technology are updating at an alarming frequency where reactivity is now a trash word. Everyone wants to see something new as often as possible. This means A. Designs needs to be timeless. B. Workspace elements must be created keeping in mind they may need revisions in short timeline with minimal cost intervention. For instance, wall color or graphics should have the ability to change overnight along with the way team wants to reconfigure their workstation based on the new sizes. Fourth and very important aspect is environmental consideration. Knowing that real estate is the largest contributor to the waste generation and management, designers need to start being sensitive to every company's pledge to net carbon zero as an ambition and adapt the same for themselves. Making informed choices during product and sourcing selection, evaluating designs to ensure the best use of management of lighting, energy and pollutions are little things that will positively affect the long-term health and wellness of employees. Resilience is a fantastic technique to test existing mental maps of our people and allow them to pursue new possibilities and prepare them for the future.
Wow, Shilpa, this is a very detailed step-by-step approach on how to prepare for resilience in terms of workplace design and from the designer's perspective, right? Thank you so much for that. But moving on, we need to also speak about the organization's point of view and the user's point of view for the same. Am I right, Smita?
Yes, so absolutely. Bringing forth resilience in design is so important to plan future scenarios. Has changed in the last 2 years. Creating customized scenario for our clients based on their business needs and their business growth is so important, which means eventually how the future of workplace would look like for them as an end user is extremely important. And this would also mean responding with our well-researched design under each scenario, right? Like for example, if we realize during our interaction with the client that they have green policies and sustainable initiatives being incorporated as a part of their business or as a part of their vision statement, as designers, it would be extremely important to create scenarios which will help them achieve reduce carbon footprint, sustainable, an absolutely sustainable workplace with all necessary ROIs and scalability options, some of which Shilpa has already spoken about, right? The other important aspect is also while physical workplace will see more agile and flexible work units, technology will surely foster new models to communicate and ideate. So be it immersive ideation corners or say occupant solutions, all of which will enhance employee experience from an end user perspective. And this definitely will improve their productivity and contribution to the company too. So as designers, we have to support these future scenarios with sustainable initiatives and more purposeful design.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Smita. As we have all observed during the entire transformation in last 2 years towards the way we work, it has been very difficult for certain organizations to initially navigate, not because lack of resources, but because they didn't know how to operate when someone is working remotely. They didn't have their policies in place. Companies ran helter-skelter and talk about retention and comfort, preceding the conversation of performance and productivity. Besides the financial benefits they are providing to their employees, but they are also considering humans in the center while designing their policies, whether it be wellness, quality of work life, diversity and inclusion, or work-life balance. Several companies have made declarations on their website putting the people-first approach. They have subsidized investment in electronics so that employees could work from home. These companies are about autonomy, about choice and control, being in the employees' bucket instead of the employers. The thing I want to say is that it's not just about the physical space, but it's also about the policies and processes which needs to evolve similar to humans.
Fantastic. So we've heard about policy, we've heard about design, we've heard about processes and people and culture. I'd love to know about some insightful trends or some insights that you think are going to be key takeaways for the change and how things are going to evolve into the future.
Okay, I would say that workspaces have evolved in leaps and bounds. So not just with respect to brick and mortar, physical office, but also with respect to the culture of workplace by itself. 10 by 10 office cute to today we are looking at seamless work zones which cater to different ergonomic settings and in fact mood, type of work in hand, and it's all about work experience today. So looking at a workplace as a box fitting in people will no longer work with millennials and Gen Zs, right? The workplace today is a strategic asset that needs to satisfy well-being, efficiency and effectiveness of people working together. A classic example, like a traditional office which saw senior management getting private offices, but come to think of it, they are also the people who are extremely agile, interacting with people from or employees from several other departments and attending meetings. So do they really require private offices? Question. Because similarly, employees who report to the senior management may need private offices to do a certain focused task. So it's all about keeping it flexible and letting people choose from where, when and how they do their job.
Absolutely, Smita. And one thing that I have to say, this industry, the corporate workspace industry, it's an inspiring industry for me. And the way things are evolving and changing, exactly like the way Smita mentioned, it's no other industry has changed as much in such a short time, and there's a big visible change. Alignment of workspace with the company's culture still stands extremely strong, and that's an important aspect. While we are currently sort of blurring between workspace or a lab space or a testing lab space completely, so it all acts like one big space where you have right type of securities, redundancies in place. Based on the need and the requirement, you can adapt it to a task, you can adapt it to a workstation, or you can adapt it to a lab space. It's all, adapt as you grow kind of a concept, and it's extremely flexible. So one aspect is that, and the second aspect is your sort of creating spaces on, as today's need of our hour is, you're creating a day 1, day 2 scenario where you're actually making it hybrid, where clients want spaces that could make it more like home, and tomorrow you could convert it based on the way the office functions. So all that options you can see like the way you're evolving. A good example is Netflix, right? The way it went from selling the DVDs to streaming in the OTTs to full production house. It's always evolving and it's pivoting. Similarly, I see that same alignment happening in the workspace as well. It's pivoting, it's evolving as it's as it's solutioning to the client.
And just taking along from there, right? Summarizing what Shilpa and Smita have said, while all of this is a need of the hour and a requirement, we do know that there is a fear that surrounds these kind of large investments of time, money and planning without knowing what for certain is actually going to happen. What is the best way to address those fears?
Yeah, exactly, Dhwani. I think success can be scarier than failure as business evolve. Each new stage creates new challenges and opportunities. Many businesses fail during the growth stage, not because they are having trouble securing new ideas, but because they do not know how to scale up for growth. The thing is, organizations need a plan, and even though it might change as you go along, having a roadmap will ensure that you are moving in the right direction. There is a very beautiful quote that change becomes an opportunity for prepared mind, and I would say if disruption is the only constant, we should be ready for it right now.
Thank you so much for putting it across so aptly for us, Nupur, Shilpa and Smita, and giving all of our listeners a few takeaways and a few points on how to be prepared, how there is possible to be a little more resilient for the future. I'd just like to say on a personal note that I believe while we prepare, analyzing the existing, analyzing the past is extremely important as analyzing the possible futures, because the mistakes that are discovered and what went wrong, that's a beautiful question, and even more beautiful answers come out of it, helping us prepare better for what's next. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed this as much as I have.
Thank you, Dhwani, for having us here. It was indeed a pleasure to interact with you, Shilpa and Nupur. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thanks, Dhwani, Shilpa and Smita. It was such an insightful conversation.